My work is ultimately for me and my family, but also there's this wider thought of how can I take it forward for future families and future generations, and how I want to tell these histories. Past generations, my ancestors, there weren't opportunities to share their stories or to share their memories or experiences or hardships. I find making these spaces as a way to grasp onto these memories that would otherwise kind of slip away. My name is Rae-Yen Song and I'm an artist based in Glasgow. So my earliest memories of making art would probably be, as a child. So my dad was an illustrator and graphic designer, so I was always encouraged to draw and I really enjoyed it. I remember kind of drawing with him and kind of showing him my works, and he'd always say, "Oh, that's great, Rae-Yen, I'll file that." The file was the bin, so he had his own way of archiving. He's definitely pretty instrumental in me kind of going down the route of art. I think I use a lot of different materials because it's more of a process of using what seems necessary for the context or for what I want to make. I think ceramics is one of them. I'm interested in kind of using the earth or using kind of mud to make something that talks about belonging and talks about land. There's also something quite meditative about sculpting with your hands in clay, or carving something, or sewing something and embellishing it by your hands. There's that very action of making and that labor that's part of it. The show at DCA is a large-scale installation. The title is pronounced Seo, and that is an echoing of my mother's generational name, which loosely describes the word precious in Hokkien dialect. It kind of describes the bones, the body, the kind of organs of this ambiguous being. I perceive that ambiguous being as a sort of kind of spirit of my grandfather, and kind of all these aspects of loss and labour and journey and migration and hardship through being as part of this body, this space. There's this costume as well, and it, I guess, is a costume that relates pictorially to more detailed descriptions of my grandfather, and kind of thinking about weaving those into an outfit and wearing it and kind of embodying something like a memory like that, having that kind of almost like a skin. There are these kind of resonating gong noises. It is kind of this calling for this beginning of almost like this mirage that's about to play, which is this animation. You don't really know what you're watching, but it's all these kind of things and imagery are shifting and eating one another, and kind of there's this act of symbiosis. There's this sense of the whole installation kind of being part of all these different objects that feed on each other and are connected and are interwoven, and they only exist because of each other. It's kind of living and breathing, and people can kind of be within that and amongst it and really feel it. I feel like it's a real purpose or a kind of devotion in creating a history that I want to tell. Being able to think how I want to be and how I want to take up space for me and my family. Listening to those stories from my parents and hearing those memories, these memories should be held and should be not forgotten, and they define us in a way that we want to be defined, rather than being told by others.